Bereshith chapter 11. And it came to be, all the earth had one language and one speech. And it came to be, as they departed from the east, that they found a plain in the land of Shinar, and they dwelt there. And they said to each other, Come, let us make bricks and bake them thoroughly. And they had brick for stone, and they had asphalt for mortar. And they said, Come, let us build ourselves a city and a tower whose top is in the Shamayim, and make a name for ourselves, lest we be scattered over all the face of the earth. Then Yahweh came down to see the city and the tower which the sons of men had built. And Yahweh said, Look, they are one people, and they all have one language, and this is what they begin to do. And now they are not going to be withheld from doing whatever they plan to do. Come, let us go there and confuse their language, so that they do not understand one another's speech. And Yahweh scattered them from there, over the face of all the earth, and they ceased building the city. That is why its name was called Bavel, because there Yahweh confused the language of all the earth, and from there Yahweh scattered them over the face of all the earth. This is the genealogy of Shehem. Shehem was 100 years old and brought forth Arpachshad 2 years after the flood. And after he brought forth Arpachshad, Shehem lived 500 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. 13. And Arpachshad lived 35 years, and brought forth Shelach. And after he brought forth Shelach, Arpachshad lived 403 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Shelach lived 30 years, and brought forth Ever. And after he brought forth Ever, Shelach lived 403 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Ever lived 34 years, and brought forth Peleg. And after he brought forth Peleg, Ever lived 430 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Peleg lived 30 years, and brought forth Reu. And after he brought forth Reu, Peleg lived 209 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Reu lived 32 years, and brought forth Serug. And after he brought forth Serug, Reu lived 207 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Serug lived 30 years, and brought forth Nachor. And after he brought forth Nachor, Serug lived 200 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Nachor lived 29 years, and brought forth Terach. And after he brought forth Terach, Nachor lived 119 years, and brought forth sons and daughters. And Terach lived 70 years, and brought forth Avram, Nachor, and Haran. And this is the genealogy of Terach. Terach brought forth Avram, Nachor, and Haran. And Haran brought forth Lot. And Haran died before his father Terach in the land of his birth, in Ur-Kasdim. And Avram and Nachor took wives. The name of Avram's wife was Sarai, and the name of Nachor's wife Milcah, the daughter of Haran, the father of Milcah, and the father of Yiscah. And Sarai was barren, she had no child. And Terach took his son Avram, and his grandson Lot, son of Haran, and his daughter-in-law Sarai, his son Avram's wife. And they went out with them from Ur-Kasdim to go to the land of Canaan, and they came to Charan and dwelt there. And the days of Terach came to be 205 years, and Terach died in Charan. Bereshith chapter 12. And Yahweh said to Avram, Go yourself out of your land, from your relatives and from your father's house, to a land which I show you. And I shall make you a great nation, and barak you, and make your name great, and you shall be a barakah. And I shall barak those who barak you, and curse him who curses you. And in you all the clans of the earth shall be Baruch. So Avram left, as Yahweh had commanded him, and Lot went with him. And Avram was 75 years old when he departed from Charan. And Avram took Sarai his wife, and Lot his brother's son, and all their possessions that they had gathered, and the beings whom they had acquired in Charan, and they departed for the land of Canaan. And they came to the land of Canaan. And Avram passed through the land to the place of Shechem, as far as the terebinth tree of Moreh. At that time the Canaanites were in the land. And Yahweh appeared to Avram and said, To your seed I give this land. And he built there an altar to Yahweh, who had appeared to him, and from there he moved to the mountain east of Bethel, and he pitched his tent, with Bethel on the west and Ai on the east, and he built there an altar to Yahweh, and called on the name of Yahweh. And Avram departed, continuing toward the Negev. And a scarcity of food came to be in the land, and Avram went down to Mitzrayim to dwell there, for the scarcity of food was severe in the land. And it came to be, when he was close to entering Mitzrayim, that he said to Sarai his wife, See, I know that you are a lovely woman to look at, and it shall be, when the Mitzrites see you, that they shall say, This is his wife. And they shall kill me, but let you live. Please say you are my sister, so that it shall be well with me for your sake, and my life be spared because of you. And it came to be, when Avram came into Mitzrayim, that the Mitzrites saw the woman, that she was very lovely. And Pharaoh's officials saw her and praised her before Pharaoh. And the woman was taken to Pharaoh's house, and he treated Avram well for her sake. And he had sheep, and cattle, and male donkeys, and male and female servants, and female donkeys, and camels. But Yahweh plagued Pharaoh and his house with great plagues because of Sarai, Avram's wife. And Pharaoh called Avram and said, What is this you have done to me? Why did you not inform me that she was your wife? Why did you say, She is my sister? And so I was going to take her for my wife. Look, here is your wife, take her and go. And Pharaoh commanded his men concerning him, and they sent him away with his wife and all that he had. Bereshith, chapter 13. And Avram went up from Mitzrayim into the Negev, he and his wife and all that he had, and Lot with him. And Avram was very rich in livestock, in silver, and in gold. And he went on his journey from the Negev as far as Bethel, to the place where his tent had been at the beginning, between Bethel and Ai, to the place of the altar which he had made there at first. And there Avram called on the name of Yahweh. Now Lot, who went with Avram, also had flocks and herds and tents, and the land was not able to bear them, that they might dwell together, for their possessions were great, so that they could not dwell together. And there was strife between the herdsmen of Avram's livestock and the herdsmen of Lot's livestock. And at that time the Canaanites and the Perizzites dwelt in the land. Then Avram said to Lot, Please let there be no strife between you and me, and between my herdsmen and your herdsmen, for we are brothers. Is not all the land before you? Please separate from me. If you take the left, then I go to the right, or if you go to the right, then I go to the left. And Lot lifted his eyes and saw all the plain of the Yarden, that it was well watered everywhere, before Yahweh destroyed Sodom and Amorah, like the garden of Yahweh, like the land of Mitzrayim as you go toward Soar. So Lot chose for himself all the plain of the Yarden, and Lot moved east. Thus they separated from each other, Avram dwelling in the land of Canaan, and Lot dwelling in the cities of the plain, and pitched his tent as far as Sodom. But the men of Sodom were evil and sinned before Yahweh, exceedingly so. And after Lot had separated from him, Yahweh said to Avram, Now lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward and southward and eastward and westward, for all the land which you see I shall give to you and your seed forever. And I shall make your seed as the dust of the earth, so that if a man could count the dust of the earth, then your seed also could be counted. Arise, walk in the land through its length and its width, for I give it to you. So Avram moved his tent, and went and dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre, which are in Chevron, and built an altar there to Yahweh. Bereshith chapter 14. And it came to be in the days of Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, Arioch sovereign of Elasar, Kedorlaomer sovereign of Ehilam, and Tidal sovereign of Goyim, that they fought against Bera sovereign of Sodom, Birsha sovereign of Amorah, Shinav sovereign of Admah, Shemever, sovereign of Tsevoim, and the sovereign of Bela, that is, Tsoar. All these joined together in the valley of Siddim, that is the Salt Sea. 12 years they served Kedorlaomer, and in the 13th year they rebelled. And in the 14th year Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns that were with him came and smote the Rephaim in Ashtaroth Karnaim, and the Zuzim in Kam, and the Ehimites in Shawa Kiriathaim, and the Korites in their mountain of Sehir, as far as Ail Paran, which is by the wilderness. And they turned back and came to Goyim, and Amraphel, sovereign of Shinar, and Arioch, sovereign of Elasar, 4 sovereigns against 5. And the valley of Siddim had many tar pits, and the sovereigns of Sodom and Amorah fled and fell there, and the remainder fled to the mountains. And they took all the goods of Sodom and Amorah and all their food, and went away. And they took Lot, Avram's brother's son, who dwelt in Sodom, and his goods, and left. And one who had escaped came and informed Avram the Elviori, for he dwelt by the terebinth trees of Mamre the Amorite, brother of Eshcol and brother of Aner, and they had a covenant with Avram. And when Avram heard that his brother was taken captive, he armed his 318 trained servants, who were born in his own house, and went in pursuit as far as Dan. And he and his servants divided against them by night, and smote them, and pursued them as far as Kova, which is on the left of Damasek. So he brought back all the goods, and also brought back his brother Lot and his goods, as well as the women and the people. And after his return from the defeat of Kedorlaomer and the sovereigns who were with him, the sovereign of Sedom came out to meet him at the valley of Shaweh, that is, the sovereign's valley. And Melchizedek, sovereign of Shalem, brought out bread and wine. Now he was the Kohen of the Most High Isle. And he barak him and said, Baruch be Avram of the Most High Isle, possessor of the Shamayim and earth. And Baruch be the Most High Isle, who has delivered your enemies into your hand. And he gave him 1/10 of all. And the sovereign of Sodom said to Avram, Give me the people, and take the goods for yourself. But Avram said to the sovereign of Sodom, I have lifted my hand to Yahweh, the Most High Isle, the possessor of the Shamayim and earth, not to take a thread or a sandal strap or whatever is yours, lest you should say, I have made Avram rich, except only what the young men have eaten, and the portion of the men who went with me, Aner, Eshcol, and Mamre, let them take their portion. Bereshith, chapter 15. After these events, the word of Yahweh came to Avram in a vision, saying, Do not be afraid, Avram. I am your shield, your reward is exceedingly great. And Avram said, Adonai Yahweh, what would you give me, seeing I go childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damasek? And Avram said, See, you have given me no seed, and see, one born in my house is my heir. And see, the word of Yahweh came to him, saying, This one is not your heir, but he who comes from your own body is your heir. And he brought him outside and said, Look now toward the Shamayim, and count the stars if you are able to count them. And he said to him, So are your seed. And he believed in Yahweh, and he reckoned it to him for righteousness. And he said to him, I am Yahweh, who brought you out of Ur-Kasdim to give you this land to inherit it. And he said, Adonai Yahweh, whereby do I know that I possess it? And he said to him, Bring me a 3-year-old heifer, and a 3-year-old female goat, and a 3-year-old ram, and a turtle dove, and a young pigeon. And he took all these to him, and cut them in the middle, and placed each half opposite the other, but he did not cut the birds. And the birds of prey came down on the carcasses, and Avram drove them away. And it came to be, when the sun was going down, and a deep sleep fell upon Avram, that see, a frightening great darkness fell upon him. And he said to Avram, Know for certain that your seed are to be sojourners in a land that is not theirs, and shall serve them, and they shall afflict them 400 years. But the nation whom they serve I am going to judge, and afterward let them come out with great possessions. Now as for you, you are to go to your fathers in peace. You are to be buried at a good old age. Then in the 4th generation they shall return here, for the wickedness of the Amorites is not yet complete. And it came to be when the sun went down and it was dark, that see, a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those pieces. On the same day Yahweh made a covenant with Avram, saying, I have given this land to your seed, from the river of Mitzrayim to the great river, the river Perath, with the Canaanite, and the Kenizzite, and the Cadmonite, and the Kittite, and the Perizzite, and the Rephaim, and the Amorite, and the Canaanite, and the Girgashite, and the Jebusite.